Back here, 615 Sessions podcast from the DraftKings Sportsbook studios. Make sure you use that promo code ATOZSPORTS that you see behind me if you are watching this program on YouTube. If you are watching this program on YouTube, you can see the man before me in the Boom Boom Room hoodie. I'm sure you can get the merch wherever it is available. Ron Slay, the Slay Ride in the building. What up, Slay?
What up, Buck? What's up, man? Yes, you can get it. All right, Ron Slay 35. Hit me on the DM and I'll ship it out to you, meet you, whatever we got to do to get it to you. You got to get in it.
It's just an open invitation to slide in this man's DMs. This is how we're doing business nowadays. I see you. I see you.
It's real, man. I'm giving them what they want, man. Like we said out there, even if they don't want it, they got to get it, man. Here it is.
And they're giving the people, well, the people can't get enough of Ron Slay, and you can get Ron Slay weekdays 10 to noon right now on 104.5 The Zone. Him and our buddy Nick Kale, they've been doing an exceptional job keeping the people going, keeping the people talking there on the radio waves. But here, Slay is here to defend or explain what the hell happened to his Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday, because I don't hate anybody the way I hate Kentucky, Ron. I don't hate anybody the way that I hate Kentucky. I went to Indiana. It's in our blood. It's the one thing that I share with this great state. I hate those damn Wildcats, and Tennessee allowed these Wildcats, these lowly, sad University of Kentucky Wildcats, to mop the floor with them at Thompson Bowling Arena. Make it make sense.
Hey, man, listen to me, Buck. I can't, man. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm one to give props when props are due. Yeah. You know, I said I had an announcement today on the radio, and my announcement was I will never, ever let up off of Kentucky Wildcats. That's the announcement. I would never apologize for a rivalry. I don't care if you're good, bad, ugly, indifferent. It is what it is. So looking at it, man, that's my thing with it, Buck. It's a rivalry, man, and it's hatred there. And it should be. You know, we keep it in the field of play, on the court, whatever it may be, and that's where it should stay. But that's the problem I have with this team. You know, I was sitting there thinking about it, like, how do you get this under control, what's going on, the inconsistencies of it? And you would want a rivalry game like this so you can show your nastiness side. You know, you show the grit in it. Yeah. And I think, Buck, I come to the realization we got a bunch of good guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look back at the games when I played, it's trash talking going on, and we mean it. You know, you can't win on this court. We're going to fight you tooth and nail. And you look at the teams leading all the way up: Kevin Punter, Robert Hubbs, Jarnell Stokes, Juwan Smith, Chris Lofton, Dane Bradshaw, Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams, all the way up to what we have right now. And the difference is, I was watching it, and they were at the free throw line, and it was no jawing, it was no elbowing, it was no, you know, I'm going in after you. It was nothing. Like, and that's the problem in it to me. The guy that can bring that was the guy that was sitting out. That was Josiah Jordan-James. And you saw him prowling the sidelines almost more than Coach Barnes. I was really wondering why the refs didn't say anything. I guess it's because of COVID times, you know, it's really nobody there, and they treated it almost like a scrimmage, you know, as far as rules go. But he was up there pacing, and you're not supposed to be able to do that as a player. You got to be sitting down. Him and Kim English were standing up the whole time like they wanted to check in and play. So I think that's part of the problem, man, with this team. And the good guy and the leader is an energy good guy, Fulkerson. You don't see Fulkerson talking crazy to anybody or doing anything emotional besides getting his teammates, you know what I mean, riled up. And we missed that. And Kentucky had their way, and they were too comfortable. You can never be that comfortable in a rivalry.
Well, and how much of this is pandemic related, what you're saying, right? Because I think in a packed house in Knoxville on a Saturday night, you got Kentucky coming into town. They're already down. You just want to give them a few kicks while they're down there.
Right.
As a fan base, as a rivalry, all the things that you're talking about, and the energy is not there. Ron, I think that college basketball, more than any other sport, has been so affected, at least from the viewers' point of view. Like, I don't know what it's like to be in these arenas. I haven't been to a college basketball game in person, obviously, this season. But I think that the product is so much different, more than any other sport, without the fans there. And I think it kind of feeds in to what you're talking about. When you have Triple J on the sideline and all he can do is pace, The guys out on the floor, well, they're probably treating it a little bit like a scrimmage because they're already down. They're going through the motions. You don't see the same kind of fierce competitiveness or intensity that you're accustomed to. How much do we need to grade on a curve, on a COVID curve, for lack of a better term?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot. You got to give some to it because the fans are what you feed off of. Especially in a in a game like this, man. You can get 20,000 fans in there to get you riled up and get you going, and let alone them, the alums that get to come back. 2 years ago, you saw the video of Bernard King being in the locker room telling the team what it means for a team like Kentucky to come in your place, and you put your foot on their throat and don't let up. You keep taking the fight to them. That means a lot. I remember opportunity 3 years ago when Grant Williams was the SEC Player of the Year. The following year they were playing Kentucky when they had what's my big Washington, PJ Washington. They had PJ Washington on Kentucky's team, and he was giving it to Grant. Like first half, he gave him everything he was looking for, and Grant didn't respond. So I remember him coming out at halftime. We crossed paths, and I grabbed him like, "Hey man, come on, this your house, dog. You the SEC Player of the Year. They can't F with you down there, dog. Like you are who you are. Be who you are." And it turned. With the COVID going on, you can't get close to a guy. You can't get in the arena. You can't get there to feel the energy. So I can only imagine as players when you're going through the motions of the game and you try to click that switch. Guys that are not wired like that, like this bunch isn't, they can't just click that switch on and get going. So I think a lot of that is part of the problem and the inconsistencies of the being a leader. Like we saw Coach Barnes say he draw a line in the sand. They responded. That was great, going into the Kansas game. Here we are again. The coach can't keep drawing lines in the sand over and over. You know what I mean? That's not going to work. You got to be as a player to transfer that same energy out there on the floor, and they just can't do it, especially when they're not all one. Triple J was a big piece missing in that. We saw Jaden Springer missing early, saw what that was like. So this is a team, in order to reach their goals, has to be whole, especially with their core.
And at a critical time, we're getting closer and closer to whatever the hell March Madness is going to look like. This team has not, I don't want to say petered out, but they're flatlining a little bit. You go back to guys that you're talking about, leadership, energy. John Fulkerson, what am I to make of that? I know our friend Joe Rexrode from The Athletic was asking Coach Barnes today about it, whether it's a physical issue or whether it's mental on the floor, what's going on with Fulkerson. But this isn't the same player that Vols fans and people who watch and cover Tennessee are accustomed to seeing. How do you diagnose the issues that he's having right now?
You know what? You look back at it, man. You look at situations like Chris Lofton, when he was being bothered by the testicular cancer and things of that nature. You look at Lamonte Turner, him having to show the injury, and they keeping it on the hush. So you're kind of reluctant to jump all over him, not knowing what's really going on. But all we can do is take it for face value. Yep. So I'm here to jump all over him. Listen, Fulkerson he's BSing. Like, you know what I mean? Like the last 7 or 8 games that we got to see last year, closing out the SEC regular season before going into the tournament, he was fantastic, phenomenal effort, and played over and beyond. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe he tapped all the way out of all of his sources and he has no more left. Maybe we saw it too early. So coming into the situation with your first team all SEC, you got a lot of responsibility on you, man, and you got to show up. It is as simple as that. Looking at it when this team is going down the stretch, getting ready for the tournament, how do you turn it on? First of all, none of these guys have been there before. So you can't wait till the tournament to turn it on. Vescovi's never been in the tournament. Josiah Jordan-James, because of shortened season, never been there. Keon Johnson, Jaden Springer are rookies. Victor Bailey Jr. had to sit out. Eve Pons and Fulkerson are the only ones that have been there, and they were played sparingly because you had guys before you. So going into it, you can't get there and be like, oh, man, when we get to the tournament, you ain't never been there. So your track record don't say you can turn it on. You got to get momentum going and ready to go into the tournament and find a way to get some kind of continuity and some consistency going forward, because you see guys like Arkansas, they're peaking at the right moment. You see Alabama been doing it the whole season. You see Kentucky even trying to get their mojo going. Now, I will say granted, this is one thing I wanted to say at the beginning. Kentucky, y'all beat Auburn, y'all beat Vanderbilt. Come on, man. And y'all blew a rivalry out. That's y'all good win. Outside of that, man, 3 games before that, you lost to Missouri, you lost to Arkansas, you lost to Tennessee. So Kentucky fans, I'm here to dampen on your parade. Pump your brakes, man. Y'all didn't do anything. Y'all supposed to beat Auburn, I would hope. You barely beat them. You barely beat Vanderbilt by 4 points. Come on, man. Take your feather in your cap, take your lunchbox, and go on home before we start calling you out here on the playground. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, they're no good winners in Kentucky, in the state of Kentucky.
Like,
you know
on,
this.
Man.
You know
Stop
this,
it, man.
Slay.
Yeah, man, without a doubt. So getting back to it, man, they got to get it going. And how do they do that? I wish I knew the formula, but one thing about it, if he gets to play back with that same energy, it can change. He doesn't look like he's having fun. He looks like he's counted on to score 20 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, really carry the team. And that's not necessarily what has to be done with him. You got to get out there and have fun and bring that energy, and that'll be contagious to the rest of the team.
I think that's why they're so frustrating. You know, I think because from what you mentioned, there's a lack of tournament experience on the roster right now, but in a way that college basketball teams really aren't anymore in the one and done era. This is constructed in a way where you have a solid group, about as evenly balanced a roster as you can have, with veteran leadership, with young guys, with high-end talent and role players who are coming off the bench. Like Tennessee is well constructed in that regard, and so you expect better of them. You expect to see these guys like Fulkerson step in. And again, like you said, we don't know what he's dealing with. It could we could look like assholes by the end of this podcast. Some come up at John Fulkerson that's something that's legitimately difficult to deal with. So you always want to take that into account. But of course, I think that's my greatest frustration. Because and maybe it's just a Tennessee thing for me. Because Ron, I've been here 5 years. Tennessee last 5 years, not the greatest track record, whether it be basketball, whether it be football.
Not a good run right now.
I have a gift that I use every time Tennessee loses in any sport. Of the two, I don't know, probably mid '90s, the overweight fans, the husband and wife together, very, very disconcerted on their face, and that's what I associate with the Tennessee sports experience. So I'm walking into this game or into my living room to watch this game on Saturday night. I'm like, there is no reason Tennessee should lose this game. So of course they're going to find a way to do that, and maybe that's bad juju on my part walking in there, but that's just kind of how I look at it, Ron. And so you trust Rick Barnes to course correct as they come into the late stretch, these last few SEC games before everybody starts to ship up to Indianapolis. I think if you're looking at it from Coach Barnes's perspective, what's the one thing you got to get right to get this team back on track, back to the team that we start, outside of health? Health is the obvious, I think.
Health being number one. And after that, man, physicality. Yeah. I think you got to be physical. You see the games that they play and they win handedly, whether it be out of conference, in conference, whatever it may be. The games that they're less physical and you lose the rebound battle, as you did against Alabama, that you did against Florida. You lost against Ole Miss. You act like you didn't know what to do. You weren't physical enough to attack going down the stretch. You look at it, man, and that is the problem. I mean, you saw in this game, Kentucky used their length and were just more physical outside of Keon Johnson, who was really, really trying. I didn't see anybody just taking it to him. Jaden Springer had a couple of good drives, but outside of that, who else do you get it from? That's why the front court guys have to be they got to be held responsible for that. Fulkerson, we know he's not a bang guy, but it's certain situations where you can exude toughness. That's diving for loose balls. That's running a guy over or taking a charge, letting him run you over. So you gotta get back to that. And you see on defense, anytime guards are driving and they're just sticking their arms out and trying to rip the ball away instead of getting a body right there, letting them see it and cutting that driving lane off, then recovering back, which takes an effort that's a little different than just your normal effort. So they got to get back to that physicality, man. If they do that, we'll see it in the turnovers. We'll see it in rebounding. Turnovers being you're strong enough with the ball, you're not driving right there to the paint, and they're raking it away and getting it and going down the fast break. Rebounding, you can't lose 43-31. I don't care if they do have length. That's effort. You don't have to jump up and out jump a guy that has more athletic ability than you, or is stronger than you, or whatever. You box the guy out, and you want it more. The ball can hit the ground, then you grab it. That's the same rebound. So physicality for me is that's the key.
You talk about just the physicality and overcoming. I immediately not as a means to kind of shove it into the podcast, but I was so impressed with the Lady Vols against South Carolina. I don't know how much of that. Did you watch that game?
Yes, I did.
Man,
yes,
I don't know how much I could say about Kelly Harper and what she's started to do to kind of get that program back to a place where it's nationally relevant and nationally discussed. But to take down number 2 South Carolina over the weekend, that was as impressive a basketball performance as I've seen in the state of Tennessee this season.
Without a doubt, that was big time. And you heard from Kelly Harper, heard you going in there and using one of Coach Summit phrases. Yeah. Put your big girl pants on. That was straight from the Coach Summit handbook 101. So she got them back to doing it. We saw it a little bit in the second half when they played UConn early in the year. We saw a glimpse of what could happen, and they put it all together, man. And that was beautiful to see. I was very, very proud of them, even though they turned around and dropped it by 2 or by 1 against Georgia. But that was a hot shooting Georgia team, you know what I mean? And they were right there together. So hard to get up for another one after beating South Carolina like that. But I love seeing the Lady Vols back. They are just as good. They mean the same to the SEC women's basketball as SEC football, the Tennessee football team does. So you got to have them up. In order for the SEC to thrive, you got to have the Lady Vols in the mix.
Without question. I know Ron Slay's a busy man. He's got media appearances all over the place. I'm trying to make sure that I don't take too much advantage of his time. But I got to know, Ron, just as an athlete, over the weekend, there was a video of a kid at Cam Newton's camp. Now, I listened to you speak on this on the radio early. Yeah. So if you want Ron Slay's fresh takes right off the microphone, you can get him 10 to noon on 104.5 The Zone. And I'm not looking to have you recycle your opinion. But Slay, somebody tell me what the hell what I was witnessing on the internet this weekend when I'm seeing some 13-year-old little brat badmouth Cam Newton, former NFL MVP. I started this podcast off to asking you to make it make sense about Tennessee and Kentucky. Ron, make that make sense.
Hey, man, that's a segment in itself, man. Buck, I'm going to be honest. It ain't no way possible. That was, first of all, disrespect. I think Cam handled it okay, besides hollering out, I'm rich. But he was. If that's the game you want to get into, well, okay, little man, go get your papa, go get your pappy, like you was telling him. Dude, that's totally disrespectful. And the crazy thing is, Buck, I can't even see myself doing that to, let's keep it in the football realm. At Tennessee State University, you got Richard Dent coming back, Too Tall Jones coming back. You got these great guys coming back, putting the effort in for a 7-on-7 camp. You got 100 some odd kids out there, and you got one guy going to spoil it. I know for sure if I was a peer of his, I would have been telling him, hey, dude, you need to shut up. You know what I mean? Cam, don't even worry about this. We got him. You know what I'm saying? And then second, I know my mom would have told me, hey, Mr. Newton, come on over here. And we would have run around the corner, and she would have told him, hey, talk to him now. Say them same exact things. And Cam, you got the right to do whatever you want to do to him. He want to be grown, treat him as an adult. And we would have seen how that played out. Like, I've been in them situations. Like, I give it up to guys like David Sutter, Calvin Peters, Dante Jones, Ron Mercer, Corey Allen. Like, dude, they would snatch me up so fast. And like, come on, dude. Like, and then you look at it from the kid's point of view. Listen, son, if you can accomplish just in high school or college, we ain't even talking about the pros.
Yeah.
That's so far away. We made it ever get there. Nobody you may know ever get to that point. But if you got high school and college and you can accomplish 1/10 of what this man accomplished, dude, you've made it. Like, you're okay. If you can get 1/10 of that, like, you get school paid. Like, man, it's bananas to me, Buck. And the funny thing about it, this generation, this is the disrespect that's allowed. And where it starts, I would like to say home, but I don't know what's going on in their home. You know what I mean? So my thing is the mentors and the people that are around him, they got to grab him, the coaches, whatever it may be, and they got to grab him and let him know, because when you're 22, 23, 24, 25, and you do this same little outlandish thing to an adult, my man, you ain't got no cameras and no lights that's going to save you.
No.
You got
TikTok ain't coming to say, coming to bail you out, brother.
No, I promise you'll be on TikTok for the wrong reason. That'll be laying in the street. You know what I mean? So that's one thing you don't want, man. So I know a person that's close to the situation and that's involved with that program. They did kick the kid off, off the team. I saw he wrote an apology and everything, but and it's difficult, man. I think Cam showed a lot of restraint. And when it comes to trash talking, I know a lot of people are saying, man, Cam got to hold his tongue, man. That was just trash talking. That's not trash talking. Trash talking is when you are engaged in competition against somebody, and that's where it stays. This man, Cam wasn't playing. You had no reason to talk to this man like that. They're talking about you a free agent. That's about to get signed again.
Yeah, he's gonna get a job.
About?
What are you doing in the league?
Exactly.
And it's I don't want to turn this into a session of ripping a teenage kid. Like that's not what this is about at all.
It's not.
And your point is well taken. Like you don't want to criticize the parents because you don't know what's going on at home, and that's something that should not be adjudicated on the internet like everybody was doing yesterday. But the thing, like Slay, that's the first time that I've felt like, looking at a younger generation and being like, the hell is wrong with these kids? It's the first. It's like I felt like I heard it in my dad's voice. Right. I'm like, this is a terrible feeling. But this little shit, like, what is going on here? Yeah. And then the second part of the video, which did not get as widely circulated because, of course, the desired effect was to have the thing go viral. The first video goes viral, but when Cam comes back to the kid, the second part of the video that I think Cam put out on his social media, he's asking, hey, what did you do today? How did your team finish today?
Right.
What were you able to participate? I'm just trying to talk to you. I'm not, no disrespect. We're just having a conversation. Right. I'm going to give you attention for the right reasons, is what he said, instead of what happened in the initial videotaping of it. And all of it just boils down to, I don't know what balance you have as a professional athlete in those settings, or anybody who is hosting something like a camp, and it's such a unique circumstance. So it's not like it's going to happen to everybody, but like, what is Cam's obligation there to try and handle the kid gently?
Exactly.
Hell no. If that was, I don't have kids, but if that was my kid, I'd be like, man, like you said, take him around the corner. Now talk to him.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at that dude, like, and I would be honest. If you take a poll amongst kids that were at that camp, a lot of them, it's not just us just having this platform able to talk about it. I believe those kids would say the same thing. Man, he was out of order. Like, and it's the guys like that give all of this generation that's coming up a bad name, thinking they do it for clout chasing, likes, whatever it may be. And that's not what all of them think. But it's those, though, the ones that are put out there in the light that we look at like, come on, man, this can't be everybody. And it's not everybody, but you got to hold accountable. Like, I know our generation we would grab them and be like, nah, man, you can't do that, man. You messing it up for all us, dude. Now we ain't even got no 7-on-7 for the next 5 years because you done fucked it up with Cam. Yeah. Come on, dog. Come on, let's be real. Like, come on, man. I don't want to sit there at the Boys and Girls Club all the time when we can go up here to Vanderbilt and do a 7-on-7.
You know how much my parents paid to send me down to Philly to this camp, and you're the one going to mess it up? Get the hell out of here.
Stop it, man. Exactly. So
stop it. That is. It's just it was, it got me through a day of content, and honestly, as a professional cloud chaser, I've probably done things that are regrettable in my life too. But I couldn't get over that. Anyway, what I can't get over is how many times Ron Slay has been generous with his time to come on the 615 Sessions podcast. OG, I really appreciate you, just like the people appreciate hearing you on the Zone, on the podcast, the Boom Boom Room, everywhere that you are mass producing the good content for the people. We appreciate your time.
I appreciate you having me, Buck. You got my number anytime, baby. I'm love coming on here because you just get to talk freedom. We just get to have a conversation on here. It ain't no silence. It ain't no, hey, don't say that. No, this is all real talk, man. And anytime we can have real talk, you got me.
And all you got to do is lock that door. That's all you
got to lock the door.